Now, trust doesn't end with one big blow-up. It erodes in layers each time they share something small and get punished for it. When your teen tells you something that's hard to hear, there are actually two conversations happening at once. There's the emotional conversation, can I still be safe with you? And there's the evaluative conversation, what does this mean and what happens next? Most parents skip to number two. They evaluate before they validate. But if you can stay in the emotional conversation first, just for a beat, you preserve that bridge. You can always circle back to the consequence later. The pause tells your teen, I can handle the truth without making it about my fear. And that's what makes you trustworthy. Let's revisit Rachel and Noah from earlier. A few months after their vaping argument, Noah told Rachel he'd failed a test because he didn't study. She felt the old panic rising. What does this mean for his future? But she remembered, pause first. So she said, that must feel disappointing. What do you think happened? Noah said, I don't know. I was distracted. I just didn't care that day. Rachel said, I appreciate you telling me. Let's figure out what support you need to get back on track. That one conversation built more trust than any I love you could. Why? Because love without safety is just empty sentiment. So let me help make this actionable for you. So here are a few ways that you can make honesty safe again. First, lead with gratitude, not judgment. Statements like, thank you for telling me. I can see that wasn't easy. I appreciate you trusting me with this. Number two, regulate before you respond. If you feel your pulse rise, pause. Say, I need a minute to think about this, but I'm glad you told me. Number three, separate the behavior from the relationship. The message should always be the behavior has consequences, but the relationship is safe. Number four, avoid retroactive punishment. If your teen told you something from the past, don't use that confession to justify new restrictions. You can say, I'm glad you told me, and I need to think through what comes next. Number five, normalize repair. If you overreact, own it. I handled that badly. You were honest, and I made it unsafe. I'm sorry for that. That last one, apologizing, is one of the most powerful ways to rebuild trust. After you start changing how you respond, your teen will test you. They'll drop small pieces of honesty just to see how you handle them. They might say something provocative like, I don't believe in school anymore. I think it's stupid. Or, I don't think I want to go to college. Or, I tried something you wouldn't like. They're not trying to shock you. They're checking your stability. And if you explode, they retreat. If you stay steady, they'll hang in there with you. That's how new trust gets built, slowly, through hundreds of micro moments where you prove you can hold their truth. If this is making you rethink how you respond to honesty, if you're realizing safety is more powerful than punishment, type safe space in the chat, because that's where the real work starts. So far we've looked at three of the biggest mistakes that destroy teen trust. First, confusing respect with obedience. The second mistake, dismissing their reality, where correction replaces curiosity. And number three, using their honesty against them, where fear replaces safety. And in each of these, the theme is the same. Our best intentions can cause the very disconnection we're trying to avoid. So in this final part, we'll bring it all home. We'll look at what happens when parents either overreact or avoid accountability, and how to rebuild trust once it's been damaged. Because no matter how many mistakes have been made, repair is always possible. Trust isn't a permanent state. It's a living system that can regrow, one honest, steady moment at a time. And the truth is, trust doesn't break because parents don't love their kids. It breaks because love gets tangled with fear, control, and expectations. So let's talk about the final two trust-destroying mistakes, and most importantly, how to rebuild trust when it's damaged. Let's start with the big one, reactivity. When teens mess up, they look impulsive, emotional, sometimes reckless. And as parents, we feel that spark of fear shoot through our chest, and we react fast, loud, strong, not because we're bad parents, but because we're scared. Scared of who they might become. Scared of what one mistake could cost them. Scared of losing control, of being considered a bad parent. But here's the paradox. Your panic feels like danger to them, not protection. When you escalate, they shut down. They stop thinking about behavior and start thinking about surviving your reaction. They retreat, or they fight, or they lie. Not because they don't care, but because their nervous system sees you as unsafe in that moment. A dad, let's call him Victor, saw his daughter Elena texting late at night. He grabbed her phone and said, "I told you no phone after 9. Why can't you ever follow rules?" Elena started yelling back. Victor yelled louder. By the end of the night, they weren't fighting about a phone. They were fighting about respect, control, humiliation. When Victor calmed down, he said, "I don't even know why I blew up. It's not the phone. It's the fear she's slipping away from me." And that honesty cracked something open for him, because so often the issue we're having isn't the behavior, it's our fear about what might be underneath it. If you can name the fear instead of reacting from it, you change everything. I want to give you a new definition. Authority isn't control. Authority is containment. Containment is you being the emotional ceiling, not the emotional amplifier. A teen escalates because they're overwhelmed. They don't need you to match their intensity. They need you to be the shore they crash against, not another wave. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be emotionless. You just have to be bigger on the inside than the moment is on the outside. That's what will make you safe. And as I've been saying throughout this whole talk, safety builds trust. Now, let's talk about one of the most underrated trust destroyers, never repairing. A lot of parents were raised in homes where adults never apologized. The belief was, if I apologize, I lose authority. But let's tell the truth. Authority without accountability is not leadership, it's fragility. Your teen does not need you to be perfect. They need you to be self-aware. I once worked with a mom who said, "I don't apologize to my kids. I'm the parent. They need to just respect me." Meanwhile, her teen barely spoke to her except when necessary. They lived under the same roof like polite strangers. And here's what I told her, gently but directly. You're not losing respect because you apologize. You're losing respect because you don't. An apology isn't weakness. It's modeling emotional maturity. If you want your teen to own their behavior, they have to see what accountability looks like. They can't learn it from lectures. They learn it from you. Here's a simple script parents use in my sessions that can change things. You can say, "I realize I reacted in a way that didn't help. I was scared, frustrated, and I let that lead instead of staying steady. You deserve better. I'm working on it. I love you and I want to figure this out together." Now that doesn't make you small, that just turns you into the safest person in the room. And safe adults, as I've said, are trusted adults. If you've ever thought, "I didn't get apologies growing up, no one modeled this for me," type "same" in the comments. You're breaking a generational pattern just by recognizing it. Okay, so we've talked about how trust breaks. Let's talk about how to rebuild it, because every parent loses it sometimes. Every parent blows up. Every parent misses something or invalidates or over-control. Repair isn't for failures, it's for relationships. Here's the process. Step 1, name what happened without defending. For instance, "I see how my reactions lately have made it hard for you to talk to me." Then notice. We don't say, "But I only did that because repair dies where justification begins. So don't over-explain yourself. Step 2, validate their experience. I get why you pulled away, or it makes sense you didn't feel safe to be honest with me. This isn't surrender, it's empathy with boundaries. Step 3, take responsibility. Like, I responded from fear instead of understanding. Responsibility is how you'll earn respect. Step 4, state your commitment. I'm working on staying steady even when I'm scared or frustrated. Your teen needs to know the effort is ongoing, not conditional, not performative, but real. And step 5, invite collaboration. By saying, when you're ready, I'd love to hear how I can show up in a way that feels better for both of us. Not, tell me what to do, or not, how do I fix it, but partnership. Teens rise when given partnership, not pressure. Step 6, hold the structure without emotional punishment. Structure stays, boundaries stay, consequences stay. What changes is the emotional tone. You don't weaponize their honesty. You don't moralize their mistakes. You don't make them your emotional project. You just stand calm, clear, grounded, having trust in them. Rebuilding trust isn't a dramatic moment. It's not one tearful kitchen conversation late at night. It's a teenager sitting next to you instead of going to their room. It's them saying, "Can I ask you something?" It's them choosing honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Trust comes back the same way it left, quietly, through micro moments, and it doesn't return because you controlled harder. It returns because you held steadier. If something in you softened listening to that, if you felt relief instead of pressure, drop a heart in the chat. That softness, that's the place where trust grows. So, to summarize, teen trust doesn't grow from having all the answers. It grows from emotional steadiness, willingness to repair, curiosity instead of control, accountability instead of defensiveness, and partnership instead of power battles. Teens don't need perfect parents. They need honest ones, aware ones, regulated ones, parents who don't abandon themselves or their teen in hard moments, parents who don't confuse authority with superiority, parents who understand that control is loud, but trust is quiet. You don't earn trust by tightening. You earn trust by staying present. If this live gave you perspective, if you feel clearer, steadier, or a little more human in your parenting, I'm really glad. Drop "I'm building trust" in the chat if you're walking away with something you're going to apply this week. And if you want to go deeper into this work, make sure you're subscribed. This is not about losing control. It's about shifting into influence. The kind of influence that lasts, the kind your teen can feel in their nervous system, not just hear in your words. Thank you for being here, and thank you for caring so much to do this work. And please take care.